Alrighty guys, welcome back, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make a sidebar layout that you can toggle on and off. Now this type of layout, as you can see, it has a sidebar on the left where all of your usually navigation items are, and your main area on the right. This is the part that whenever we collapse it, look what happens. It just doesn't shift over, it actually expands and is responsive. Now another reason this layout is cool is because on smaller devices, let's say a phone that was that size, the entire menu is off the screen and the user can toggle it whenever they want to go to a new page or do whatever. So it's one of my favorite types of layouts. Let me put that back to normal, and this is actually one that I'm working on for a little section of my website right now, and I don't know, I just like it because it feels like I'm working with an actual piece of software and it looks kind of like a control panel rather than a plain old boring generic website. But anyways, whenever we make this project, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a wrapper, and this wrapper is going to encompass everything. So the wrapper is essentially your entire website. Now inside here we're going to have two sections, the sidebar and the main page content. Now the wrapper is going to say, okay, depending on, and we're going to write a little bit of JavaScript, do you want to use this layout, which is all your main content, or this layout with the sidebar? So all we're doing is we're making two layouts, one with a sidebar, one without a sidebar, and we're going to use this button to switch between them. It's pretty easy, so let's see if we can figure out how to do that. Now I already added two files. One is this index.html, this is just our basic template, and this sidebar.css, you can actually stick it all in one file, but whenever I post it on GitHub, it was kind of going to look jumbled together. So since I have my CSS in another file, we actually need to include it. So link rel style sheet and href sidebar CSS. Alright, now remember, what we need to do in order to get this functionality is we need to surround everything in a div, our main div, and this is our wrapper. You can actually give it whatever ID you want, but a lot of people usually name it wrapper. Get everything properly formatted, and remember, we're going to have two sections. One is the sidebar and the other one is the main content. I'll just say page content. And another thing I want to show you guys is that whenever we design this layout, I'm going to have this sidebar be unresponsive, just a normal generic sidebar. It's going to be static. The only bootstrapping we're going to do is this main page content, because that's the area you see that expands and contracts, is pretty much adaptable to your website. This can just be, okay, a static little chunk of HTML. Do you want to display it or not? So of course you can do whatever you want, but I'm just going to stick with the bare basics. So first, let's make the static non-bootstrap sidebar. So make a div, and I'll just add my items in the navigation list as an unordered list. So anyways, the ID of this could be like sidebar wrapper, and let's just stick an unordered list in here so we have some navigation items, and I'll say class sidebar nav. Let me just make like 3 of them, and might as well make them link to something. I'll just make a dead link, and well, can we have the first one, the account page, and I don't know, what are some other pages that we have, like settings and logout or something. So we'll say that, I don't know, this is like a social networking admin panel, whatever, who cares. Alright, now that's all we're gonna have for the sidebar, and now I have to cough. Alright, got a little whooping cough there. Alright, so now we get to the fun part, the page content. So this is the part that we have to make adaptable. All we're doing with this is we're going to say, okay, do you want to display it or not? So I'm going to be putting everything in a div just so I can design it a little bit better, and I need an ID so we can reference it, and this can just be like wrapper. So this is going to be your entire right hand side. So now what we have to do is we need to bootstrap it so it's actually responsive, and the first thing that we need to do for that is put it in a container, and I want mine fluid because it's going to take up the entire width of this right hand side. And now inside here, you remember, not dialog, we need rows, and for each row we have a column. Now for this right here, you see that I have 3 columns, one for this, and one for these panels. In this example, I'm just going to make one huge column because I want to make it really basic just to demonstrate this idea. But whenever you're designing an actual site, feel free to put 3 different columns in here, or 2, and they can be different sizes, whatever you want to do. So for div, I'll set this class equal to column large 12. So just set it equal to 12 if you want to take up the entire thing. And now check this out. See, in this example, what I did is I made a toolbar at the top, but in the demonstration I'm showing you guys, it's going to kind of look like this, where just a sidebar and the main area. So we can't stick that little button that the user clicks on the toolbar because we don't have one. So in this example, I'm just going to put it like somewhere around here, and do whatever you want, like I said, but that's what I'm going to do. So it's going to be a link, href. I'm so lazy that every time I hit a key, I just wait for all my code to pop up for me. So that's why I'm like, I don't know. It kind of takes me a while, but whatever. All right. So now, what class do we want? Well, we want to make this into a button. So button and button success. So this would just be a plain blue button, and now we need to give it an ID. So I'm gonna name this menu toggle, and I'll just say like toggle menu. Pretty creative. So essentially, we're gonna be clicking this button right here, and whenever we click it, it's gonna change layouts to either this one or this one. So that's all we're going to do. We have 2 different layouts, and this button is going to switch between them. Easy, beautiful cover girl stuff. Alright, let me just add a couple other things. So be like sidebar layouts are cool. And just a paragraph. Let me add a bunch of text in here so you guys can see whenever we hide the menu and show it again that the content is actually collapsing and expanding and our responsiveness works. So I love apple pie. Seems like a good thing to type. Alright, that should be enough text to take up the entire screen. Now, the last thing that we're going to do is we need a little bit of JavaScript code. It's actually jQuery, and this is the code that's going to change the classes. So again, like I said, we're making 2 different layouts. We didn't yet, but we're about to in CSS. One layout is this, one layout is this. Now in order to change those, we're going to give the wrapper a class called we'll say is toggled or is not toggled, or showing menu or not showing menu, whatever. But that's what that button is going to do. So that's the reason for this JavaScript, and I'll put a menu toggle script. Script, and the first thing is we need to select this button right here, because this is the thing that's going to cause the action. So to get it, $, menu toggle. So this is the selector if you aren't familiar with jQuery. So we want to select this button, and this is just, we're referencing it by the ID. So we're going to select that button, and we're going to say whenever the button is clicked, then we can do whatever we want. So function not one e, and let me make sure I got all my semicolons in place. Alright, so here's the thing that we need to watch out for. You see this button right here it's a link. But the default action of your browser whenever you click a link is to go to a URL. Now, all we're doing with this link is we're treating it kind of different. We don't want to go to a new website, we just want to use it to toggle the menu on and off. So we actually need to take care of that by preventing the default action, which is pretty much tell the computer that, hey, whenever we click this, it's not supposed to perform the default action of going to a web page. So prevent default event. So again, this is the event. In other words, whenever you see E, that's just the button click, and that's all that means. And we're saying, okay, prevent the default clicking action of a link. In other words, don't go to a URL. And it's kind of a weird way to say it, but whatever. And what we're going to do after this is we just need to change the layout, the overall layout. Now, the reason I made this parent right here is because this is our container for everything else. So all we have to do is we need to give this a layout, and let me actually select this, and it's pretty much whenever we have a reference to this, then we can control whatever's inside it. It's a pretty good way of explaining it. Alright, so we're just going to say for the wrapper, toggle class, and I'll name it toggled. Alright, so what this means is whenever you click this button right here, whenever a click on the button happens, then don't worry about going to another URL, and also toggle this wrapper's class to toggled or not toggle. That's what this toggle class function does. It adds or removes the toggled class. So by default right now it doesn't have it. When we click it, it'll add it. When we click it again, it'll hide it. When we click it, it'll add it. And that is how we can just say on and off and on and off, and you don't have to worry about a bunch of state variables. Really easy that way. So now we get to hop over in the CSS, and I'll actually stick that in a new video. But for now, there you go. Thanks for watching. See you next time.